The Penguin, Episode 1, After Hours, Mark. Welcome back, everybody, to the channel and to this The Penguin HBO Max Episode 1 review. If you're new here, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate you for clicking on the video. Basically do movie news, movie reviews, and filmmaking on this channel. My name is Tyler Babb. If you could give this video a like, I greatly appreciate it. It greatly helps push me out into the algorithm. And I appreciate it, and if you enjoy this review, consider subscribing. I'll be back after this.
America's a hustle. Not that I'm complaining.
So The Penguin follows Oz Cobb, also known as Oswald Cobblepot in the comic books, but they changed his name here to sound more real world and not so much from the 1930s. But I don't know, Oz Cobb doesn't really sound like it sounds like a nickname. Doesn't really sound like a name to me. So Oswald Cobblepot, whatever. Anyways, the Penguin, played by Colin Farrell, is an incredible performance. But it basically follows his life after The Batman. The Batman is directed by Matt Reeves, came out in 2022, so it's a spin-off series of that original movie. So if you're interested in The Penguin and you have not seen The Batman, I definitely would go check that out. It is one of the best movies, I think, in the most recent years. If you're a comic book fan, if you're a Batman fan, I think it's pretty well considered and pretty well loved. I think that version of Batman was pretty well received. It did pretty well at the box office. And yeah, if you're into detective mystery stories, right? A lot of people are into like true crime stuff. I feel like the Batman and the Penguin fit perfectly into that. That is basically what crime thriller type of stuff, right? You got kind of Sopranos vibe is what I was getting from the show, primarily this show. And so if you're into that, I think you will really dig the show. Now, do I think the show is perfect? No. I have my issues, but let's start off and talk about what I did like about the show. Obviously, the makeup and the performances are incredible. I think everybody on this movie, or on this show, it's weird because it's connected to the Batman, so I just think of it as an extension to the Batman, but everybody in this show is performing at top-notch level. Right, you can tell, and specifically Matt Reeves is the director and the writer of the show. You can tell that he cares. This is his universe, right? And I think this is a perfect example of somebody who has a vision and who is kind of allowed by the studio to create their vision, right? Obviously, we saw what happened with Zack Snyder and the studio kind of not letting him do what he wanted to do. I feel like we got a lot of that. We got a lot of heads in the room. We got a lot of egos in the room. But with this, there are no egos. Matt Reeves is allowed to take the time. They just finished writing the Batman script. We'll talk about that later in the week. And so Matt Reeves was able to take his time in making this series and writing Batman 2 and also writing Batman, the first Batman movie. It took him like 3 years, I think, to maybe just write that. And then it took him another probably 2 or 2.5 years because we had COVID and all that other stuff. So production got delayed. Anyways, all that to say, I think this was a pretty good episode 1, right? We only saw one episode and it was okay. It was a good setup. Do I have my issues? Yes. My one issue, obviously I love the performances and I think that's the highlight of this episode. Right, and there are some good moments. I think the episode started out really well. The episode had, great stakes from the inciting incident in this one will kind of shock you, to be honest. I was like, man, we are moving. This is rated MA, so this is rated mature, whereas the Batman is PG-13. Is the Batman 2 going to be R? I doubt it. Because this is a show on Max, and so it can push the envelope a little bit more, which I greatly appreciated, and I think will lead to crazier things in subsequent episodes. But yeah, the inciting incident on this, I was like, man, A+. It got me into it, and I was ready to go. But here's where it starts to dip a little bit for me, because we spend a lot of time going from point A to point B. And I guess if I have to put, obviously this says director on it, and I'm not a director, Although I guess maybe I could be one day, or I could put my hat in that ring. Get it? Haha. I'll throw my hat in the ring. Anyways, I'm an editor, but that's my career. That's what I do for a living. But if I put my director hat on or my editor hat, seeing people walk from point A to point B kind of gets under my nerves because it's unnecessary. And I feel like there was a little bit, obviously you had to set up his disability, right, or whatever. And they do that very well here. They set that up. They show you why he's walking the way he is. My only issue was, the pacing. This episode felt long. The middle section for me dragged. It was a great opening, and then it kind of dragged a little bit. And I know this is a setup, and this is only the first episode, so I kind of give it a pass. But for my editing brain, I could be like, man, we can speed this stuff up. Driving from point A to point B, and maybe maybe it's different because I already know this character. I know this character from the comic books. I know this world because I've seen the Batman. So like, I don't need a lot of the extra stuff. But for somebody who hasn't seen it as much or doesn't know anything about this world or is coming into it fresh, maybe they needed that. I have no idea. The other thing that I had an issue with is I don't feel like they introduced the Penguin, Oswald Cobblepot, or really explained the Penguin thing in this episode well enough for new viewers, right? For people who don't know him from the comics, who don't know why he's called the Penguin, and I guess their only reference is Danny DeVito, right? That's their only other reference. If they haven't seen Colin Farrell's Penguin, they don't know what's going on. And I think a lot of people associate the Penguin with Danny DeVito and Tim Burton's Penguin, which isn't necessarily the Penguin from the comic books. And again, this is a completely different Penguin, not a completely different Penguin, but a different version of Penguin from the comics even. But a lot of people think he's a Penguin man. I've a couple coworkers that I've talked to have, asked if he's going to I got that question earlier in the week. They were like, oh, is he going to transform into a penguin later on? And I was like, no. That's not happening. So I think Tim Burton's version of the Penguin, while Danny DeVito was excellent, and I love that movie, that is the version, that is what the people think the Penguin is. And while they explain it in the Batman, the movie, they don't explain it really here. They show you his foot, they give you a little bit of backstory of his family life, which was cool, but I don't feel like for the new people that they established who the Penguin was or who he was. Right? They just assumed that you had come from the Batman. And it is very much a continuation of that story right from the get-go. They give you a little intro thing, an intro segment where they kind of recap what happened in the Batman, and I thought that was cool. But for new people, I still think you might walk away and be like, why do we care about this guy? Because they don't really give you a reason. They set up his need and they set up his want, or more his want than anything. But I don't know. I feel like they could have gone a little bit deeper in that aspect. Another thing that I kind of didn't really believe is the relationship between the Penguin and Victor. Now it's interesting what they do here. They kind of take a spin off of Jason Todd, right? They use his origin because Jason Todd is a Robin to the Batman, is one of the Robins to the Batman. And his origin is basically him stealing rims off of a car and blah, 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 of the Batmobile. And like, that's what Jason Todd does. And they do that here, but for the Penguin, which I thought was cool. But as it went on, I just didn't understand. And maybe we'll explore it again in the future episodes, right? I'm not like, I don't know. I thought this was okay, but I just didn't understand why the Penguin would go from why he would just pick this random kid. It didn't seem natural to me, and it didn't seem to make much sense. I don't think they sold me quite on that. Like, why are you, I don't want to give too much away. I'm trying to stay spoiler free. I said this was spoilers, but I want to try to stay spoiler free as much as I can. But I don't know. I just didn't believe that relationship. And at the end, the ending was awesome. I really loved the ending and like how the shock and like kind of what happens at the end is pretty brutal and pretty awesome. But then they end on this like strange, if you've watched Hey Arnold, then you kind of know what I'm talking about. But like, it kind of felt like that almost, where it's like these and I get it, they kind of bond at the end, the Penguin and Victor, Oz and Victor, Oswald, Victor, whoever, whatever you want to call them. They kind of have like this bonding moment. I mean, it's a nice arc for Victor, but I don't know. I had issues with this episode. Mainly in the pacing, mainly in the editing, but I don't know. We'll have to see. Wasn't my favorite episode, and it didn't blow me away, basically. Well, thank you guys so much for checking out this review of episode 1 of The Penguin After Hours. Thanks again for all the subscribers that have come to the channel and got me over that 500 subscriber milestone. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. And for liking and commenting. It shows that you guys enjoy my opinion and you keep coming back, and I really hope that we can continue to have a discussion as the DC universe rolls out in front of our eyes. Obviously the DCU under James Gunn is going to be a focus of the channel. There are other things that I want to talk about, as well as Marvel movies and any just kind of movies. I know Oscar season is going to start coming, so there's going to be a bunch of other movies. I want to see Transformers 1 at some point and get a review up for that, because that looks really good to me. I'm not a massive Transformers fan, but it's something that I want to check out. And I'm also writing a feature film, so I'm thinking towards the end of next month, I will start to bring that onto the channel and kind of give you guys an update video on what's going on with that, because I think that'd be cool to bring you into that side of my world as well. Thank you guys so much again for coming by and checking it out. If you love movies, this is the place for you. I love you. Take care. Bye-bye.